Let's take a break for a few moments talking about how to get information in and out of your database, and speak instead about the quality of the data that gets into your database. As the old saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. You don't want to allow garbage into your database, but what does that garbage look like, and how do you go about keeping it out? If you ever have to go into a database and clear out garbage that's gotten in there, the process is called sanitization. And just like cleaning out a clogged pipe, it's not fun. Let's take a look at what garbage data looks like. Notice in this little employee table that when Eric was filling out the form, since he didn't have a phone, he didn't just leave it blank, he wrote in something else. Hey, it fits the data length constraint of 14 characters. But imagine trying to sort employees' phone numbers by area code. Garbage. Also, note that Rowan and Logan didn't use the standard 2-letter abbreviation for state. When the database administrator searches for all the people living in Wyoming, Logan's name is not going to come up. Garbage. This is why you see some controls on user interfaces, sometimes called dumb validation, that can make sure the user is entering sanitized data. For example, that pick list of 2-letter states, or an input mask around a phone number that only allows digits to be added. Sad to say, however, our own app that we've been using has data quality issues. Take a moment and look at our input form. Do you see a problem? That's right. Notice that when we input The Hobbit as a fantasy movie, it'll get added to the database just fine, but since our genre filter doesn't have that value, The Hobbit will never be found. And what if someone typed all lowercase action? Would that one get left out of the filtered searches as well? Well, how can we solve this problem? The best way to keep people from messing up your database by typing in values that you're going to search on is not let them type in those values. Provide them a drop-down list. Filling out forms with a lot of drop-downs can get tedious for the user, especially when doing it on a phone, but now at least you see why they are necessary. But even adding this drop-down list is not enough. At least one more problem remains. Can you spot it? Yep. Although we are requiring that the contents of this field be a valid number, some nerd could type in a star date from way in the future, and it would probably get saved. Try finding that movie in any search by year query. Now, how are we going to fix this one? You'll note that our data model already requires a valid number that's greater than 1874. Perhaps that will give you a clue as to how you could add a max requirement and put in the current year. That'll fix those Star Trek nerds. But when next year rolls around, you've got to remember to change your code so that the people can add the next Fast and Furious movie. Instead of providing a specific year, you could create a variable that finds the current year and then use that variable as your value for the maximum year allowed. So there you have it, a few thoughts on application design that will go a long way in keeping you from having to climb into your database and muck out all the garbage. If you'd like to take the time to review some actual React coding, instead of all this Mongoose stuff, you could actually implement these controls on your own project. I have included the changes made to the application for these controls here on the screen. You can either pause and duplicate the code in each appropriate document, or you could try to do so on your own at first and come back here for reference once you get stuck. Here are some changes to app.js that add the search by genre drop-down list. Here are some more changes to app.js that validate what to do when someone picks an item from the drop-down list you just added. Here are the changes to the movieform.js that add the drop-down list to your input form. And here are the changes to the movierouter.js that allow the new movies to be added. And finally, here again is the code to validate the release year. Good luck with folding these fine additions into your application. But now, back to MongoDB.